Hey everyone, tonight we're stepping into a world of exquisite flavors, rigid hierarchy, and unyielding deadlines. Forget your instant ramen. We're going back to a time when culinary art was literally a matter of imperial taste. Imagine the hushed pre-dawn chill of an enormous stone kitchen, the faint scent of charcoal and dried spices already hanging in the air. You're not just an observer, you are the chef, specifically a chief chef in the grand Ottoman Topkapi Palace. Your hands, scarred from countless burns and cuts, instinctively reach for your apron in the dim light. The clatter of pots and pans, the low murmur of dozens of voices, the scent of wood smoke mingling with rosewater. This is your reality, your entire existence for the next countless hours. This isn't some quaint little bistro. This is the culinary engine of an empire responsible for feeding thousands from the lowliest stable boy to the Sultan himself. And let me tell you, one wrong dish, one misplaced spice, and your day could go from bad to seriously bad. You probably won't survive a single shift without accidentally setting your hair on fire, but your taste buds are about to go on an incredible journey. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. And if you're enjoying these little journeys, liking and following helps keep them coming. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. As your eyes adjust to the gloom, you feel the cool stone floor beneath your worn leather slippers. The air is still heavy with the ghosts of last night's roasting meats and simmering stews, a comforting familiar aroma that signifies the start of another demanding day. You rub the sleep from your eyes, your mind already racing through the day's potential demands. Will the Sultan desire his usual delicate quail for breakfast, or will a sudden craving for something entirely new send the entire kitchen into a frenzy? Such whims are not to be underestimated. They dictate the rhythm of your world. The earliest rays of sunlight are just beginning to pierce the high arched windows of the palace, casting long ethereal columns of light onto the dusty floor. You can already hear the distant sounds of the palace waking up the muffled footsteps of guards changing shifts, the whinny of horses from the stables, and the soft repetitive chanting from the mosque. You make your way through the cavernous space, past silent rows of colossal copper cauldrons, their surfaces gleaming faintly in the half-light. The sheer scale of this place is always a little breathtaking, even after years of navigating its labyrinthine passages. This isn't just a kitchen, it's a complex of kitchens, each specializing in different dishes or serving different echelons of the palace. Historians still argue whether the extreme specialization of the palace kitchens was purely for efficiency or a deliberate strategy to control food supply and prevent poisoning attempts on the Sultan. You nod a silent greeting to the few early rising apprentices who are already beginning the arduous task of stoking the enormous wood-fired ovens. Smoke curls lazily from the chimneys, a signal to the awakening city that the heart of the empire is preparing its first meal. Remember that feeling of dread when your alarm goes off way too early. Multiply that by 1,000 and add the pressure of feeding an entire empire where your performance directly impacts your survival. Welcome to your life. The first steps you take each morning are through the vast echoing chambers that make up the imperial kitchen's scale. This isn't just a kitchen, it's a small city unto itself, nestled within the sprawling Topkapi Palace grounds. You navigate its immense space, feeling the cool air of the storerooms give way to the rising warmth of the ovens. Imagine walking through a series of colossal dome-roofed halls, each one dedicated to a specific type of cuisine, or a particular section of the palace hierarchy. It's like a culinary factory, but with more intricate tiling and fewer conveyor belts. To your left, rows of massive conical chimneys pierce the ceiling, each one belonging to a different kitchen. There's the Sultan's kitchen. Of course, the most prestigious and demanding. Next to it, the Yanar Harem kitchen, catering to the women of the imperial family. Further down, you pass the divan kitchen for the imperial council and the janissary kitchen, responsible for feeding the elite infantry. It's an intricate dance of specialized culinary teams, each operating almost independently, yet all under the ultimate oversight of the head chef, a title you currently hold with a mixture of pride and constant anxiety. Historians still argue whether the distinct separation of these kitchens was purely for administrative efficiency or also served as a measure of security to prevent mass poisoning within the vulnerable palace population. The sheer volume of food handled here is staggering. We're talking about feeding thousands of people on a daily basis: the sultan, his extended family, the concubines, the eunuchs, the viziers, the janissaries, the servants, and everyone else who resided within the palace walls. It's a logistical marvel requiring precise coordination and an almost military level of organization. Think about feeding a small town 3 times a day with no refrigerators, no instant delivery, and a discerning clientele who could quite literally have your head if they didn't like their breakfast. No pressure, right? It makes your last attempt at cooking for a large family gathering seem like making toast. You observe the layout as you pass enormous marble preparation tables, their surfaces worn smooth by centuries of chopping and kneading. Walls lined with countless shelves holding spices in earthenware jars, gleaming copper pots of every conceivable size hanging from hooks, and colossal ovens capable of roasting an entire ox. The sounds are beginning to swell: the rhythmic thud-thud-thud of pestles and mortars, the distant clanging of metal on stone, and the low guttural murmur of early morning instructions being barked out by the various kitchen masters to their apprentices. The organizational structure is as complex as the architecture. Beneath you, the head chef, are various kitchen masters, like the master of pastries or the master of pilaf, each overseeing their dedicated section. Below them are dozens, sometimes hundreds, of junior chefs, apprentices, and laborers, all working in a synchronized ballet of culinary production. Every person has a specific role, a designated task ensuring that the vast machinery of the imperial kitchen runs without a hitch. It's an impressive, if somewhat intimidating, sight, a testament to the Ottoman Empire's administrative prowess, even down to the preparation of their daily bread. And let's be honest, it probably smelled a lot better than your average medieval city. With the scale of your domain firmly in mind, you move swiftly to the morning's first critical task, receiving the fartu first orders early morning. This isn't a leisurely glance at a menu. It's a rapid-fire session of directives, often delivered by a high-ranking palace official or even the chief harem eunuch whose word is law within his domain. You stand attentive, your mind a whirlwind of ingredients, techniques, and logistics, ready to translate abstract desires into tangible culinary masterpieces. The weight of these commands rests solely on your shoulders. You listen intently as the chief steward outlines the day's requirements. The sultan, for instance, might have expressed a preference for a light, delicate breakfast, perhaps a dish of kaymak clotted cream with honey served with freshly baked paper-thin flatbread. But then there might be a more unexpected request, a craving for a particular fruit, out of season, or a specific type of game bird. Such a request sends a ripple through the kitchen hierarchy, testing the efficiency and resourcefulness of your entire staff. It's like a 5-star restaurant receiving a last-minute order for a dish with a single incredibly rare ingredient that needs to be flown in from across the globe. But instead of flying, it's a gallop through mountainous terrain by horseback. For the wider court, the orders are more standardized, but no less demanding in volume. Large quantities of various stews, yani, simple pilafs, and baked goods will be required to feed the hundreds, if not thousands, of courtiers, guards, and servants. Each section of the palace had its own assigned menu, determined by rank and occasion. The divan, for example, might require more refined dishes than the janissary barracks, which demanded hearty, energy-sustaining fare. This means you're not just planning one meal, you're orchestrating dozens of different menus simultaneously, all with varying ingredient lists and cooking times. Historians still argue whether the complexity of palace menus primarily served to display wealth and power, or if it was a genuine reflection of sophisticated culinary traditions. As the steward finishes, you quickly repeat the key items, confirming your understanding. Your brain is already categorizing what ingredients need to be pulled from storage, which apprentices will handle the preparatory work, how many ovens will need to be at what temperature. This initial exchange is a dance of efficiency and clarity, a moment where the entire day's culinary symphony is first sketched out. There's no room for error, no time for hesitation. A delay here means a delay for every single meal served that day, and a hungry sultan is not a happy sultan. Trust me, you don't want to be the reason for an imperial stomach grumble. The early morning air, once still, now begins to thrum with a nascent energy. The apprentices you saw earlier are now joined by more experienced cooks, and the sounds of bustling activity start to fill the vast space. Copper pots clatter softly as they're moved, water splashes into basins, and the low sizzle of kindling catching fire in the immense ovens begins to grow. The scent of wood smoke intensifies, mingling with the fresh aroma of awakening spices. Your day has truly begun, propelled by these first crucial orders. It's a high-stakes culinary theater, and you're the conductor. You certainly wouldn't want to forget your sheet music here. With the day's culinary roadmap laid out, your immediate concern shifts to procuring fresh ingredients. This isn't a quick trip to the corner market. It's a well-oiled operation involving a network of suppliers and a rigorous system of quality control. You head towards the receiving areas where the day's bounty is already arriving, carried by sturdy porters from various palace gatehouses and bustling city markets. You inhale deeply, distinguishing the earthy scent of fresh root vegetables from the sweeter aroma of newly delivered fruits. First to arrive are the possibly fresh greens and seasonal vegetables. Peas, beans, spinach, cucumbers, and varieties of squash are unloaded from wicker baskets and large wooden crates. You meticulously inspect each batch, your trained eye instantly spotting any blemish, any sign of wilting or insect damage. The quality must be impeccable. The Sultan and his court demand nothing less. A vendor once tried to pass off slightly bruised pomegranates, and let's just say he didn't enjoy a repeat visit to the palace. It's like being a Michelin star chef at a farmer's market, but with far higher stakes if you pick a bad apple. Historians still argue whether the Ottoman palace's rigorous quality control for ingredients was primarily for health and safety, or a means of demonstrating imperial wealth and authority over its supply chains. Next come the pot meats. Lamb, goat, and various poultry are delivered often still warm from the morning's slaughter. You examine the cuts, ensuring freshness and proper preparation. The palace kitchen consumed vast quantities of meat daily, so a steady, high-quality supply was absolutely essential. You might even oversee the delivery of freshly caught fish from the Bosphorus glistening silver in the morning light, destined for delicate stews or grilling. The sheer volume can be overwhelming, mountains of flesh awaiting transformation. Then there are the dairy products. Fresh milk, creamy yogurt, and clotted cream. Kaymak, often brought in large earthenware jugs. You dip a finger tasting for freshness, ensuring the quality is up to par. For the Sultan's breakfast alone, the kaymak must be of the finest, silkiest consistency. And don't forget the eggs, carefully packed in straw-filled baskets destined for omelets, pastries, or to enrich savory dishes. You can almost hear a faint clucking from the direction of the palace's own poultry yards. Finally, the more specialized goods begin to trickle in sacks of various flours for the baker's jugs of olive oil, enormous barrels of honey, and crates of nuts and dried fruits from across the empire. Each item is weighed, counted, and inspected before being dispatched to its respective kitchen section or storeroom. The palace maintains its own supply lines, but also relies on trusted, long-standing vendors from the city whose livelihoods depend on their consistent quality. It's a complex logistical dance performed daily to ensure the imperial appetite is always satisfied. You wouldn't want to be the one to tell the Sultan there's no fresh melon because the delivery was subpar. That's a conversation best avoided, preferably by someone else. With the fresh bounty now filling the receiving areas, your attention shifts to the orchestrated chaos of the main kitchen hall and the intricate system of barred apprentices and hierarchy. This isn't just a place where food is cooked. It's a living, breathing culinary school, a rigid structure where every individual from the rawest newcomer to the most seasoned kitchen master knows their precise place. You, as the head chef, stand at the apex of this culinary pyramid, your experience hard-won through decades of unwavering dedication. At the very bottom are the all kitchen boys. Aushits Olin, often young and newly brought into palace service. Their tasks are the most menial, stoking the massive ovens, carrying heavy water buckets from the cisterns, sweeping floors, and scrubbing mountains of copper pots until they gleam. It's backbreaking, thankless work, but it's their gateway to a potential future in the imperial kitchens. You observe them sometimes offering a sharp word of correction, sometimes a rare nod of approval. You were once one of them scrubbing pots until your hands were raw, so you know exactly what they're enduring. Historians still argue whether the Ottoman palace kitchen hierarchy, while seemingly rigid, allowed for significant social mobility based on talent and loyalty, or if it was largely fixed by birth and patronage. Above them are the Pajau, junior apprentices. Shagird who have progressed to more direct food preparation. They learn by doing under the watchful eye of a senior cook, performing tasks like peeling mountains of vegetables, meticulously cleaning fish, or pounding spices in enormous mortars. They are constantly supervised, their mistakes met with swift, often loud reprimands. Precision is paramount. A badly peeled vegetable or an unevenly chopped herb reflects poorly on the entire section. It's like culinary boot camp, but with more shouting about onions and fewer push-ups. Then come the various ranks of far cooks, ashcha, and master cooks. Ashchabashi, each specializing in a particular type of cuisine or dish. There's the master of soups, the master of pilafs, the master of pastries, and so on. Each of these masters runs their own semi-autonomous section within the vast kitchen complex, responsible for the training of their own apprentices and the quality of their specific dishes. You, as the head chef, oversee all of them, arbitrating disputes, setting standards, and making the final decisions on all culinary matters. It's a bit like being the general of a delicious army where your troops are armed with knives and whisks. The system is designed for both efficiency and quality control. Every task, no matter how small, is part of a larger chain of production, ensuring that vast quantities of high-quality food can be prepared on demand. It also fosters fierce competition among the various masters, each vying to impress the Sultan and gain favor. This competition, while sometimes leading to petty rivalries, ultimately ensured a consistent drive for culinary excellence. The hierarchy is clear, the roles defined, and the expectations unyielding. No one is above scrubbing a pot if the need arises, but everyone knows their ultimate goal is to rise through the ranks, perfecting their craft, and perhaps one day earning the coveted title you now hold. You certainly wouldn't want to mess up an order for the Grand Vizier and risk sliding back down a rung or two. As the morning's rhythm intensifies, your immediate focus narrows to the most critical task of the early day, preparing pandin, breakfast for the Sultan. This isn't just a meal, it's a delicate culinary ritual, a precise ballet of flavors and textures designed to both nourish and delight the imperial palate. You step into the Sultan's private kitchen, a smaller, more refined space within the larger complex, where only the most trusted chefs are permitted. The air here is cleaner, the silence more profound, broken only by the quiet sizzle of a pan or the gentle whisk of a spoon. The Sultan's breakfast is rarely a grand affair, often a testament to refined simplicity. Today, the main dish is kaymak, a rich clotted cream so exquisitely fresh it seems to have just materialized from the morning dew. You personally oversee its portioning, ensuring its perfect temperature and creamy consistency. It must be served with pour acacia honey, golden and translucent, drizzled precisely over the kaymak in a delicate pattern. This precision is paramount. Even a slight excess or imperfection in the drizzle could displease the discerning eye of the monarch. Historians still argue whether the apparent simplicity of the Sultan's breakfast was a genuine preference or a strategic choice to avoid elaborate preparations that could conceal poison. Alongside the kaymak, a selection of freshly baked flatbreads arrives from the palace bakery, still warm and impossibly thin, almost translucent. You inspect them for any charring, any unevenness in their bake. There's also a small bowl of pitted dates from distant oases, plump and sweet, and perhaps a handful of perfectly ripe figs, chakstis or maknesh grapes, depending on the season. Each fruit is individually checked for blemishes, only the most perfect specimens making it to the Sultan's tray. It's like being a personal food stylist for royalty, where every crumb and every berry has its designated immaculate spot. And let's be honest, you wouldn't want to serve bruised fruit to someone who could at a whim order your retirement to a very cold, dark place. The beverages are equally precise. A small, elegant pitcher of chaonai chilled sherbet, often flavored with rose petals or violet, is prepared. Its sweetness must be perfectly balanced, not cloying but refreshing. And for some sultans, a tiny, exquisitely brewed cup of coffee. A relatively new but rapidly growing trend. The coffee beans, freshly ground, release an intoxicating aroma that mingles subtly with the sweetness of the honey and fruit. You watch as a trusted servant grinds the beans with a small specialized mill, ensuring the powder is as fine as silk. This particular coffee is prepared without sugar, a true test of its quality and the skill of the brewmaster. Every element is placed on a magnificent silver tray, polished to a mirror sheen, adorned with delicate porcelain dishes and a meticulously folded linen napkin. You give the final approving nod, ensuring not a single speck of dust mars the presentation. This tray, borne by a specially designated eunuch, will make its silent journey to the Sultan's private chambers a direct line from your skilled hands to the most powerful man in the empire. The responsibility is immense, the margin for error non-existent. But as the tray disappears, you feel a brief, quiet sense of accomplishment. One meal down, many more to go. Just remember that crocodile dung sunscreen from our Roman chat. This is definitely a step up in terms of pleasantness, both for you and the Sultan. Even as the Sultan's breakfast tray silently glides towards his chambers, the rhythmic thump of dough being kneaded pulls your attention to another vital section of the imperial kitchen: the bakery's warm embrace. This isn't just a small corner with an oven. It's a dedicated, bustling hall filled with the comforting aroma of yeast flour and rising bread. You step in, feeling the tangible warmth radiating from the colossal domed ovens, their brick interiors glowing with heat. Here, a specialized team of bakers overseen by the ekmekçi başı. Head baker works tirelessly to provide the vast quantities of bread required daily for the palace. Bread, after all, was the most fundamental staple of the Ottoman diet, served with almost every meal from the simplest stew to the grandest feast. Imagine mounds of flour sacks, the air thick with fine white dust, as bakers with strong flour-dusted arms meticulously prepare various types of dough. Historians still argue whether the quality of bread in the palace kitchens was consistently superior to that available in Istanbul's public bakeries, or if it varied depending on the supply of grain. You observe the preparation of different varieties. There's the ubiquitous flatbread partneau pied mers or lavash, thin and pliable, perfect for scooping up stews or wrapping around grilled meats. Some are plain, others dusted with sesame or nigella seeds, their subtle nutty scent already beginning to fill the air. Then there are the more refined breads, often richer, softer, sometimes enriched with milk or eggs, destined for the higher echelons of the court. For special occasions, they might even produce delicate, intricate pastries that blur the line between bread and dessert adorned with nuts or dried fruits. It's like a never-ending bread festival where every single loaf has to be absolutely perfect. The process is a meticulous dance. Flour, often sourced from the finest Anatolian grains, is sifted repeatedly to ensure purity. Yeast derived from previous batches of dough or natural ferments is carefully nurtured. The kneading is a long, arduous process done by hand or by simple mechanical aids, building the gluten to give the bread its characteristic chewiness. You watch as large rounds of dough are expertly slapped onto the scorching hot interior walls of the tandoor-style ovens, adhering for a few minutes, until puffed and golden, then skillfully peeled off with long, slender poles. It's a rapid-fire, almost theatrical performance requiring precision and speed to avoid burning. The heat in this section is intense, a stark contrast to the cooler storerooms, but the bakers work with an unwavering focus, their movements practiced and efficient. The sound of sizzling dough meeting hot brick, the rustle of cooling breads being stacked in enormous wicker baskets, and the low murmuring conversations among the bakers create a unique auditory backdrop. This warm, fragrant space is the unsung hero of the imperial kitchen, providing the daily sustenance that underpins every meal. Without its constant output, the entire culinary operation would grind to a halt. It's a reminder that even the most glamorous meals rely on fundamental, often humble staples. No matter how fancy your meal, you still need good bread to go with it, right? And unlike your average supermarket loaf, this bread would have been truly fresh-baked just hours before it reached your plate. Leaving the warm, yeasty embrace of the bakery, you are drawn to the cooler, more organized chaos of the meat preparation area. Meat prep precision and skill. Here, the day's fresh deliveries of lamb, goat, and poultry are transformed from raw material into the exquisitely prepared cuts destined for stews, roasts, and kebabs. The air here is brisk, tinged with the scent of fresh blood and sharp steel, a visceral reminder of the culinary cycle. You watch the master butchers, their movements swift and economical, wielding specialized knives with astonishing precision. Lamb carcasses are expertly broken down, each cut designated for a particular dish. The legs might be destined for a slow-roasted kuzu tandoor, while the shoulders are carefully cubed for a fragrant gouvetch casserole. Nothing goes to waste. Even the bones are collected for rich broths and stocks that form the backbone of countless Ottoman dishes. This level of meticulous butchery isn't just about efficiency. It's about maximizing flavor and ensuring uniform cooking. Imagine trying to achieve tender, evenly cooked meat when your cuts are all over the place. It simply wouldn't do for the sultan's table. Historians still argue whether the Ottoman palace's extensive use of lamb and goat was primarily a matter of religious dietary law, halal, or an economic choice based on their abundance in the region. Poultry, too, undergoes a rigorous process. Chickens, ducks, and even smaller game birds like quail are meticulously plucked, cleaned, and portioned. Some are destined for delicate poaching, others for grilling, their skins crisped to perfection. You observe an apprentice carefully removing every last feather, a task far more intricate than it sounds. One stray feather on a royal plate could lead to severe consequences, a detail often overlooked in our modern prepackaged world. It's a good thing you don't have to worry about accidentally serving a disgruntled feather to the Sultan. That would certainly be a bad day. The sheer volume of meat processed here daily is immense. Large wooden chopping blocks, worn smooth and dark with age, bear the marks of countless blades. Copper basins are filled with water for rinsing, and a constant stream of apprentices carries away trimmings and offal to be utilized elsewhere or disposed of. The rhythmic thwackes of cleavers on bone, the sharp shing of knives being honed, and the low guttural instructions from the master butchers create a symphony of purposeful activity. Beyond the raw preparation, much of the initial marinating and seasoning also takes place here. Large ceramic pots hold cuts of meat, soaking in mixtures of yogurt, olive oil, and various spices, tenderizing and infusing them with flavor before cooking. This foresight and preparation are crucial to the complex flavors of Ottoman cuisine, ensuring that even simple meats are elevated to something extraordinary. The skill involved in discerning the perfect cut, the right seasoning, and the precise aging is a testament to generations of culinary knowledge passed down through the ranks. It's a reminder that truly great food starts with impeccable ingredients and skilled hands long before any heat is applied. You certainly wouldn't find these chefs reaching for a pre-made marinade from a plastic bottle. Moving from the brisk domain of meat preparation, you enter the area dedicated to vegetables from earth to plate. Here, the vibrant bounty delivered earlier is meticulously cleaned, sorted, and cut, transforming raw produce into the colorful components of stews, salads, and side dishes. The air here is fresher, tinged with the crisp scents of freshly cut greens and the earthy aroma of root vegetables. You watch as nimble fingers work with astonishing speed and precision, a quiet ballet of peeling, chopping, and rinsing. Before any cutting begins, cleanliness is paramount. Mountains of dirt-caked vegetables, carrots, turnips, eggplants, and gourds are systematically washed in large copper basins, often using brushes made from natural fibers. This isn't a quick rinse. It's a thorough cleansing, ensuring no trace of the earth remains on the produce destined for the imperial table. Imagine the sheer volume of water consumed daily just for this task, a testament to the palace's immense logistical capabilities. Historians still argue whether the perceived level of hygiene in Ottoman palace kitchens was truly effective in preventing foodborne illnesses, or if it was more about maintaining appearances for the elite. Once cleaned, the sorting begins. Vegetables are graded by size and quality, with only the finest making it to the sultans' or harem's kitchens. The slightly less perfect but still perfectly edible produce might be allocated to the divan or janissary kitchens. This rigorous selection process ensures consistency in cooking and presentation across different palace sections. No one wants to find a bruised cucumber in their imperial salad, after all. Then comes the skillful art of cutting. Apprentices learn specific techniques for each vegetable, the fine dice for a delicate mise, the consistent slices for a layered dish, or the precise julienne for a garnish. You observe a young apprentice struggling with an eggplant. His cut's uneven, and you offer a quiet, firm correction, demonstrating the proper grip and knife angle. Precision isn't just for aesthetics. It ensures even cooking and optimal texture. An irregularly cut vegetable will cook unevenly, ruining the dish. It's like trying to bake a cake when half your ingredients are a different size. It just won't work. Large quantities of leafy greens like spinach and chard are painstakingly picked, over their tougher stems removed and then chopped. Fresh herbs, parsley, dill, cilantro, are minced with incredible speed, their vibrant green adding both color and intense flavor to almost every savory dish. The constant rhythmic sound of knives on wooden cutting boards fills the air, a steady pulse against the background hum of the vast kitchen. The sheer variety of vegetables available to the Ottoman palace kitchen, thanks to the empire's vast agricultural reach, was truly impressive. From the common staples to more exotic imports, the chefs had a rich palette of flavors and textures to work with. This section is where the raw, earthly bounty begins its transformation, moving closer to becoming the exquisite, colorful components of the day's many meals. It's a reminder that even the most complex dishes rely on the meticulous preparation of their simplest elements. No matter how grand the feast, it always starts with clean, well-prepped vegetables. And frankly, after watching these guys, you might never complain about chopping an onion again. From the crisp freshness of the vegetables, you move into the truly aromatic heart of the imperial kitchen, the section dedicated to spices, the soul of Ottoman cuisine. Here the air is thick, warm, and intoxicating, a complex tapestry of scents that speaks of distant lands and centuries of trade. Imagine breathing in the heady perfume of cloves, the sharp sweetness of cinnamon, the earthy warmth of cumin, and the fiery kick of black pepper, all mingling in a glorious, fragrant cloud. This isn't just a spice rack, it's a treasure trove meticulously organized and fiercely guarded. The sheer variety of spices available to the Ottoman palace chefs was unparalleled in its time, a direct reflection of the empire's vast reach and control over key trade routes. From the bazaars of Istanbul, fed by caravans from the east and ships from the south, came a constant supply of these precious commodities. You personally inspect the delivery sacks of vibrant red paprika maize, a later arrival, but a staple by the palace's zenith, dark, plump cardamom pods, golden strands of expensive saffron, and fragrant sticks of cinnamon. Each spice is checked for purity, aroma, and freshness. Adulteration was a serious offense, and your nose is as keen as any merchant's. Historians still argue whether the Ottoman Empire's control over the spice trade was its primary economic driver or a secondary benefit of its military expansion. The storage of these spices is a precise art in itself. They are kept in cool, dry, dark rooms, often in large, airtight earthenware jars or wooden chests to preserve their potency and aroma. You watch as apprentices carefully grind whole spices in enormous stone mortars with heavy wooden pestles, releasing their full flavor. The rhythmic thump-thump-thump of the pestles creates a mesmerizing beat, a testament to the manual labor involved in preparing these vital ingredients. Grinding spices fresh just before use is a fundamental principle of Ottoman cooking, ensuring maximum impact in every dish. It's like the difference between instant coffee and freshly ground beans, but for every single flavor in your meal. Beyond the common spices, you might encounter more esoteric ones. Mahlep, derived from cherry pits offering a subtle, bitter almond note. Sumac, with its tangy lemony zest. Or nigella seeds, providing a distinctive peppery, oniony flavor to breads and pastries. Each spice has its place, its specific culinary role, its precise proportion in any given dish. The art lies not just in knowing what to use, but how much and when to add it, a knowledge passed down through generations of palace chefs. A heavy hand with chili could ruin a delicate pilaf, while too little saffron could diminish a grand feast. The Ottoman kitchen was renowned for its sophisticated use of spices, blending them in complex and harmonious ways to create signature flavors. It was a cuisine that embraced both robust warmth and delicate aromatics, relying on these precious powders and pods to transform simple ingredients into extraordinary culinary experiences. This deep understanding of flavor profiles, of how spices interact and elevate each other, is what truly made Ottoman cuisine legendary. It makes you realize that your little spice rack at home is just a tiny, tiny glimpse into this vast, fragrant world. And honestly, after a few hours in here, your nose might need a vacation, but your culinary soul will be forever enriched. As the sun climbs higher over the minarets of Istanbul, the sprawling imperial kitchens transform into a veritable beehive of activity. The mid-morning bustle intensifies to a crescendo of purposeful sound and motion. The rhythmic grinding of spices now competes with the clatter of knives, the sizzle of oil, and the constant murmur of commands and responses echoing through the vast vaulted halls. You, as head chef, are a whirlwind of oversight, your eyes everywhere, missing nothing. The air is now thick with a rich tapestry of aromas, the sweet scent of baking bread from the specialized Ekmakana bakery, the savory promise of simmering meat from the Ashana Yehasa. Sultan's kitchen and the sharp, fresh tang of herbs being chopped in the general preparation areas. It's a symphony of culinary creation, a testament to the dozens, sometimes hundreds of hands working in synchronized precision. Imagine orchestrating a dozen different holiday dinners all at once in a space the size of a football field with no modern appliances. No pressure, right? Apprentices, their faces smudged with flour or charcoal, scurry back and forth carrying enormous copper pots, wicker baskets overflowing with vegetables, or heavy wooden planks laden with freshly kneaded dough. Older cooks, their movements honed by decades of practice, expertly wield their tools slicing onions with blinding speed, stirring vast cauldrons of simmering stock, or carefully skewering meats for the grill. Every individual knows their role, a precise cog in the enormous culinary machine. Historians still argue whether the constant intense activity in the palace kitchens was a mark of efficiency or a reflection of the sheer number of mouths that needed to be fed, requiring perpetual motion. In the fish section, the master of seafood, the balak chibasha, supervises the preparation of the day's catch. Delicate sea bass are scaled and gutted, destined for light grilling or steaming, while larger fish might be prepared for a rich yani with vegetables. The smell of the ocean, fresh and briny, temporarily cuts through the heavier aromas of meat and spices. You might pause to watch a young apprentice meticulously deboning a fish, offering a quick, almost imperceptible nod of approval when his technique is flawless. Meanwhile, in the specialized helva hain, the sweet kitchen, the early stages of dessert preparation begin. Large quantities of sugar honey and dried fruits are brought out. The air here is already hinting at the sugary delights to come a welcome counterpoint to the savory intensity of the main kitchens. Though the final creations won't be ready until much later, the foundational work like toasting nuts or infusing syrups starts early. It's like baking a massive multi-tiered wedding cake where all the different layers and fillings are being prepared simultaneously in separate bustling rooms. The noise level is significant, a constant hum of activity. The clang of metal, the sizzle of fat, the rhythmic chop, chop, chop of knives, and the low, urgent voices of kitchen masters barking instructions to their teams. Yet amidst the din, there's an underlying order, a controlled energy that ensures everything moves forward smoothly. You navigate this bustling environment with an innate understanding, a chef's intuition that allows you to anticipate problems before they arise, to spot a lagging apprentice or an overcooked pot from across the vast hall. This is the heart of the Ottoman Empire, beating with the energy of countless hands preparing meals for thousands. And unlike your own kitchen, where a single misplaced pot can cause chaos, here chaos is strictly not on the menu. As the kitchen's energy continues to build, your attention turns to one of the most fundamental and universally comforting dishes, the one soup kitchen for the court. This isn't just about making a single pot of broth, it's about preparing vast quantities of various hearty, comforting soups, each destined for different palace factions, from the most esteemed courtiers to the bustling janissary barracks. You head towards the row of colossal copper cauldrons already simmering gently over dedicated hearths, their vast surfaces reflecting the flickering flames. Each cauldron is devoted to a different kind of soup, tailored to the specific tastes and nutritional needs of its intended recipients. For the Sultan and the inner court, there might be delicate chicken or lamb broths, enriched with clarified butter and subtly flavored with fresh herbs, like dill and parsley. These are light yet nourishing, designed to cleanse the palate and prepare it for the richer courses to come. You personally check the clarity of the broth, ensuring it's free of any impurities, a testament to the meticulous skimming and straining involved. It's like preparing a consommé for 100 people, but without the benefit of modern refrigeration or precise temperature controls. Historians still argue whether the perceived health benefits of these elaborate broths were scientifically understood by Ottoman chefs or merely based on traditional beliefs and observation. For the Janissaries, the elite infantry who formed the backbone of the Ottoman army, the soups are far more robust and fortifying. Think of thick, substantial lentil soups, mercimek çorbası, or hearty, yogurt-based soups, yayla çorbası, enriched with rice or barley, providing sustained energy for their demanding duties. These are seasoned more vigorously, often with generous amounts of red pepper and mint designed to warm the body and spirit. You might see immense quantities of freshly baked bread being torn and added to these soups, transforming them into a complete meal. It's the kind of soup that sticks to your ribs, perfect for soldiers who might spend hours drilling in the palace courtyards. The preparation of these vast quantities requires incredible coordination. Apprentices constantly stir the simmering cauldrons with long wooden paddles, ensuring even cooking and preventing anything from sticking to the bottom. Others meticulously chop mountains of vegetables, onions, carrots, celery, that form the base of the savory broths. The aroma of simmering stock, rich and meaty, permeates this section of the kitchen, mingling with the earthy scent of legumes and grains. The ağır consistency parts bis of the soups is crucial. They must be neither too thin nor too thick, perfectly seasoned, and served at precisely the right temperature. You dip a small silver ladle into each cauldron, tasting, adjusting, and offering precise instructions to the master cook overseeing the soup station. A pinch more salt here, a swirl of melted butter there, perhaps a final sprinkle of dried mint for freshness. The importance of soup in the Ottoman diet cannot be overstated. It was often the first course of almost every meal, a fundamental element of hospitality and sustenance. It's a good thing you don't have to deal with fussy eaters demanding chicken noodle every single day, though. The variety here is astonishing, and frankly, a lot more delicious than anything out of a can. Leaving the simmering depths of the soup kitchen, your senses are now drawn to the delicate, fragrant artistry required for gyop, rice dishes art, of pilaf, çay. In Ottoman cuisine, pilaf was far more than just boiled rice. It was a dish of profound importance, a centerpiece of feasts and a testament to a chef's skill. You enter a specialized area where the air is subtly perfumed with saffron butter and the promise of perfectly fluffy grains. The variety of pilafs prepared daily is astounding, each designed for different palates and occasions. For the sultan and the harem, you might oversee the preparation of a delicate saffron pilaf. Its grains stained a beautiful golden hue and infused with the subtle, honeyed aroma of the precious spice. For this, only the finest long-grain rice is used, painstakingly picked over grain by grain to ensure no impurities. This isn't your sticky, clumpy rice. This is a testament to individual separate grains, each perfectly cooked. Historians still argue whether the Ottoman emphasis on rice cultivation and its culinary importance was primarily due to its nutritional value or its symbolic association with prosperity and abundance. The technique for a truly perfect pilaf is meticulous. First, the rice is thoroughly washed and soaked, sometimes for hours, to remove excess starch and ensure the grains remain separate and fluffy. Then it's often briefly sautéed in clarified butter, seyyah, or olive oil, allowing each grain to be coated and sealed, preventing stickiness. The liquid, whether rich meat broth or simply water, is added in precise proportions, sometimes flavored with onion garlic, or a bouquet garni of herbs. The pot is then tightly sealed, often with a cloth draped over the lid to trap every bit of steam, and cooked over a very low consistent heat until all the liquid is absorbed. It's like a delicate chemical experiment where a slight miscalculation can turn perfection into a sticky disaster. You observe a master pilaf cook his movements precise and confident, gently fluffing the cooked rice with a wooden spoon, never stirring, always careful not to break the delicate grains. For special pilafs, various additions are incorporated, Tender pieces of slow-cooked lamb or chicken-toasted nuts like pistachios or almond currants, or even small sweet dried fruits. Each addition must be carefully balanced, complementing the rice without overpowering it. Imagine the vibrant colors and textures, the deep green of pistachios against golden saffron rice, or the dark gleam of currants providing a sweet counterpoint. The presentation of pilaf is also critical. It's often mounted high on large copper platters, sometimes garnished with fresh herbs or a final drizzle of melted butter. The smell alone is enough to make your stomach rumble, a testament to the skill involved. The texture must be light and airy, each grain distinct yet tender. It's a foundational dish demonstrating mastery over seemingly simple ingredients, transforming them into something truly sublime. You wouldn't want to serve clumpy rice to an emperor, would you? That's just asking for a bad day. The art of pilaf truly defines the elegance and precision of Ottoman cooking, turning a common staple into a dish fit for royalty. From the savory perfection of pilaf, your attention now shifts to a realm of pure indulgence, the desserts and sweet treats. Born from the helvehane, the palace's specialized sweet kitchen. This is a place of delightful aromas, where the air shimmers with the scent of sugar honey nuts and rosewater, a welcome counterpoint to the more robust fragrances of the main kitchens. You step into a space filled with specialized copper pots, marble slabs, and an array of molds where culinary artists meticulously craft sugary masterpieces. The variety of sweets produced here is astonishing, reflecting the Ottoman love for confectionery. One of the most famous is halva, helva, from which the helvehane gets its name. This isn't just one type of halva. There are dozens: semolina, halva flour, halva, tahini. Halva each with different textures and flavors, often enriched with nuts like pistachios or walnuts and scented with rosewater or orange blossom. Imagine large copper cauldrons where semolina is slowly toasted in butter, then stirred with hot sugar syrup until it forms a fragrant, pliable mass, which is then pressed into molds or cut into delicate squares. Historians still argue whether the elaborate and varied production of sweets in the palace kitchens was primarily a display of imperial wealth or a reflection of a deeply ingrained cultural value placed on hospitality and celebratory foods. Then there are the myriad forms of baklava, arguably the most famous Ottoman sweet. Paper-thin layers of dough brushed with copious amounts of clarified butter filled with finely ground nuts and spices, then baked to a golden crisp and drenched in sweet syrup. You observe a master baklava maker, his hands moving with incredible speed and precision, layering dough so thin it's almost transparent, creating dozens of trays simultaneously. It's a testament to patience and exactitude, a dessert that demands absolute perfection from its creator. And trust me, a soggy baklava is a crime against humanity, or at least against the sultan's taste buds. Beyond halva and baklava, the helvehane produced an array of other delights. Lokum, or Turkish delight in various fruit and floral flavors dusted with powdered sugar. Marzipan figures intricately molded into tiny fruits, flowers, or even miniature animals, often reserved for the sultan's personal enjoyment. Compotes, of dried fruits simmered in syrup and spices, served as refreshing endings to rich meals. And of course, countless types of or jam, inobalmum and frambuesar fruit preserves made from the abundant harvests of palace orchards. The work in the helvehane requires not just culinary skill, but artistic flair. Presentation is paramount. These sweets are often meticulously arranged on silver platters, garnished with fresh mint leaves or a sprinkle of bright green pistachios. The vibrant colors and intricate designs make them as much a feast for the eyes as for the palate. The air here is truly a delight, a constant reminder of the sweet rewards of imperial life. You might even steal a tiny warm piece of freshly made halva when no one is looking, a small, justifiable perk of your demanding job. After all the savory intensity, a little sweetness goes a long way. It's a good thing calorie counting wasn't a major concern in the Ottoman Empire, because a day in this section of the kitchen would make your modern dietitian weep. After indulging in the sugary delights of the helva, your focus shifts to the vital realm of liquid refreshment. Beverages, sherbet, and coffee. The Ottoman palace kitchens were just as meticulous about their drinks as they were about their food, producing a range of refreshing concoctions and embracing the emerging invigorating trend of coffee. You step into a cooler, less overtly aromatic section, where the clinking of delicate glasses and the subtle perfume of fruits and spices replace the intense heat and savory smells of the main cooking areas. Sherbet was the undisputed king of Ottoman beverages, far predating coffee in popularity and prestige. These weren't just sweetened fruit juices. They were complex, refreshing drinks made from various fruits, flowers, and spices, often diluted with water and served chilled. Imagine enormous ornate pitchers filled with vibrant red cherry sherbet or translucent pink rose sherbet glistening with condensation. You oversee the preparation of a new batch watching as a team meticulously crushes fresh pomegranates for their juice or infuses dried apricots with cinnamon and cloves. Other popular flavors included violet tamarind lemon and even musk or ambergris for the most luxurious varieties. These were hydrating, flavorful, and believed to have medicinal properties far more sophisticated than your average sugary soda. Historians still argue whether the widespread consumption of sherbet was primarily for refreshment for its perceived medicinal benefits or a cultural preference in a society where alcohol was largely forbidden. The creation of sherbet involves a delicate balance of sweetness and tartness, often achieved by adding honey or sugar. The infusions must be just right, allowing the natural flavors of the fruit or flower to shine through without being cloying. You might taste a spoonful, adjusting the balance, ensuring it is perfectly refreshing for the sultan's palate. Apprentices carefully strain the liquids through fine cloths to ensure a perfectly smooth, clear beverage free of any pulp or sediment. Then there is coffee, kahve, a relative newcomer to the Ottoman court but rapidly gaining immense popularity. While sherbet symbolized tradition and refinement, coffee represented a new era, a stimulating dark brew that encouraged conversation and intellectual discourse. You observe the coffee masters, kahveci usta, in their dedicated nook. They meticulously select the finest green coffee beans, which are then expertly roasted over charcoal to a precise dark brown. The rich, earthy aroma of freshly roasting coffee beans, a smell that would become synonymous with Ottoman culture, permeates this small area. It's like a tiny exclusive coffee roasting boutique within the palace, producing the finest beans for the most discerning palates. Once roasted, the beans are ground to an incredibly fine powder using brass hand mills, almost like flour. This fine grind is essential for the characteristic thick, strong Ottoman coffee, which is prepared by simmering the powder directly in water in small, long-handled copper pots called sezves. Served in tiny, handleless porcelain cups, often without sugar, it was a potent, invigorating drink. You might take a small, cautious sip, evaluating its strength and flavor, knowing that the Sultan's morning pick-me-up depends on your approval. The contrast between the sweet, refreshing sherbets and the dark, invigorating coffee highlights the diverse tastes catered to by the palace kitchens, ensuring every desire, every mood was met with a perfectly crafted beverage. Remember how we talked about your modern craving for an espresso? This is where it all began, centuries ago, meticulously brewed for an empire. As the various dishes and beverages reach their peak of perfection, your role as head chef expands beyond mere culinary creation to the complex logistical feat of supervising the stewards. This involves orchestrating the precise distribution and delivery of every cooked meal throughout the sprawling palace, ensuring each dish reaches its intended recipient, from the humblest servant to the Grand Vizier, at the correct time temperature, and with immaculate presentation. It's like running a high-stakes multi-restaurant delivery service, but with no GPS and much, much heavier lifting. You move to the main kitchen's dispatch area, a bustling hub where lines of stewards, each representing a different section of the palace, await their allocations. These stewards, aşçı, are not just glorified waiters. They are responsible for the safe and timely transport of the food, ensuring its quality isn't compromised on its journey through the palace labyrinth. You meticulously check the trays, each covered with crisp linen cloths or metal domes to keep the food warm and protected from dust or curious eyes. Historians still argue whether the complex system of food distribution within Topkapi Palace was primarily for efficiency for security reasons or a means of demonstrating the Sultan's immense capacity to provide for his entire household. For the Sultan's personal meals, the process is even more rigorous. A special team of highly trusted eunuchs, often accompanied by palace guards, carries the exquisitely prepared trays directly to his private chambers. These meals are often tasted by designated tasters before they ever reach the Sultan's lips, a grim but necessary precaution in an age of political intrigue. You personally oversee the sealing of these trays, sometimes with a wax seal, ensuring no tampering can occur during transit. It's a culinary security detail, far more intense than making sure your Uber Eats order isn't messed with. For the harem meals are delivered to their private apartments, often carried by eunuchs or trusted female servants. These trays are designed to cater to the women's varied tastes and delicate palates, and you must ensure the correct dishes are sent to the correct apartments. Mixing up the meal for the Sultan's mother with that of a junior concubine would be a catastrophic mistake. Imagine trying to keep track of hundreds of individual meal preferences without a computer system. Your brain is the ultimate spreadsheet. Meanwhile, larger quantities of food are dispatched to the divan for the imperial council, the janissary barracks, the scribes' offices, and the various living quarters of the palace staff. Each area has its specific delivery schedule and its own set of dishes. You listen to the reports from the returning stewards, feedback on portion sizes, temperature, and general satisfaction. Any complaints, no matter how minor, are logged and addressed immediately. A grumbling janissary might not cause a palace coup, but a consistently unhappy regiment is definitely something to avoid. The supervision is constant, demanding your keen eye and organizational prowess. You ensure that no dish is forgotten, no order misplaced, and no portion is incorrect. The entire culinary machine relies on this final critical step of distribution. As the last of the lunch trays disappear into the vast palace network, a brief lull descends, but you know it's only temporary. The evening meal, the grandest of the day, already looms large on the horizon, demanding even greater logistical finesse. You might feel a brief pang of hunger yourself, but your duty comes first. You can't be caught with crumbs on your chin when an empire needs feeding. With the initial wave of lunch deliveries successfully dispatched, your attention, though briefly relaxed, quickly turns to a particularly unique and demanding culinary challenge. Lunch for the harem. This isn't just another set of meals. It's a complex task involving discretion, specific dietary needs, and an understanding of the refined, often capricious preferences of the imperial women. You move towards the harem kitchen, a section slightly more removed, imbued with an air of quiet elegance distinct from the general bustle. The harem, a world unto itself within the palace, houses hundreds of women, the Sultan's mother, the Valid, Sultan, his consorts, Kadın concubines, princesses, and their numerous attendants. Each group has its own dietary preferences, often influenced by their origin, health, or even pregnancy. You consult with the chief harem eunuch or one of his senior staff, receiving precise instructions. Some might prefer lighter, more delicate dishes, heavy on vegetables and fruits, while others might desire richer, more indulgent fare. It's like catering a very exclusive, very particular women's club, where the stakes are incredibly high if you get it wrong. Historians still argue whether the dietary variations within the harem were primarily a matter of personal preference, specific medical needs, or a subtle means of maintaining social stratification among the women. You oversee the preparation of dishes known for their refined flavors and exquisite presentation. There will be delicate chicken or fish dishes, often poached or lightly grilled infused with lemon and fresh herbs. Vegetable stews, with tender lamb simmered until fragrant or vibrant, stuffed vegetables, like peppers or zucchini filled with aromatic rice and ground meat. Sweeter, more aromatic pilafs might also be in demand, perhaps with rosewater or orange blossom, reflecting the harem's taste for refined indulgence. The emphasis is on freshness, purity, and aesthetic appeal. The cooks dedicated to the harem kitchen are typically older, more experienced women, sometimes even former concubines who have risen through the ranks due to their culinary skill and trustworthiness. They work with a quiet efficiency, their movements precise and practiced, knowing the immense importance of their task. You ensure that ingredients are of the highest quality, often selecting them personally from the morning's deliveries. No bruised fruit, no wilted greens make it to the harem's plates. Presentation for the harem is paramount. Dishes are arranged on beautiful porcelain or silver platters, often adorned with delicate garnishes of fresh herbs or edible flowers. Sherbets light and refreshing are served in elegant glass pitchers, accompanying every meal. The trays are covered with fine linens carried by trustworthy eunuchs who understand the strict protocols of the harem. The food isn't just sustenance, it's an expression of care luxury and the sultan's provision for his women. There's a subtle pressure in preparing meals for the harem, a quiet understanding that a well-fed and contented harem contributes to the overall tranquility of the palace. A delightful meal can soothe tensions, while a poorly prepared one could lead to complaints reaching the sultan's ears, which is definitely not a situation you want to find yourself in. So every detail is considered, every flavor perfectly balanced, ensuring that the culinary journey within the harem is as harmonious as the carefully orchestrated melodies of a lute. It makes you realize that even in a world of political intrigue, sometimes the simplest path to peace is a truly delicious meal. And let's be real, you wouldn't want to get on the bad side of hundreds of imperial women, no matter how powerful you are. With the harem's lunch, dispatched your focus shifts to the broader overarching system of decorum that governs every meal served in the palace. Palace protocol and service. Beyond the mere preparation of food, the Ottoman court adhered to incredibly strict rules about how, when, and by whom food was served, reflecting a deep-seated belief in order hierarchy and the symbolic power of the sultan. You are not just a chef, you are a guardian of these culinary rituals. Every meal, from the sultan's private breakfast to the communal dinners of the janissaries, followed a prescribed choreography. The manner of service was dictated by the recipient's rank. For the sultan himself, meals were presented with utmost solemnity and a striking silence. The designated eunuchs who carried his trays moved with hushed reverence, their footsteps barely audible on the polished marble floors. No unnecessary words were spoken. Gestures were minimal and precise. The food was brought to his presence, placed before him, and then after he finished removed with the same quiet efficiency. It's like a silent sacred ceremony repeated multiple times a day. Historians still argue whether the extreme formality of the Sultan's dining rituals was primarily to elevate his divine status, to maintain an aura of mystery, or as a crucial security measure. For the Grand Vizier and members of the Imperial Council divan meals were served in the divan hall typically after their morning meetings. Here the service was formal but slightly less rigid than for the Sultan. Dishes would be brought on large copper platters, placed on low tables, and served by a retinue of stewards. While conversation was permitted, it was generally subdued, focused often on matters of state. The speed and efficiency of the service were still paramount, reflecting the busy schedules of these high-ranking officials. The Janissaries, on the other hand, experienced a more communal, though still orderly, mealtime. Their food, delivered in enormous cauldrons and on large wooden trays, was distributed in their barracks. While still disciplined, their dining was certainly more boisterous than that of the inner court. The symbolism of food was particularly important for them. If the Janissaries refused to eat their soup, it was a potent sign of discontent or rebellion, a signal that even you in the kitchen would dread hearing. It's like the ultimate food review system, where a bad rating could actually lead to an uprising. No pressure on your soup-making skills. You, as the head chef, would rarely interact directly with the Sultan during meal service, your influence exercised through the meticulous perfection of the dishes themselves and the rigorous training of your staff. Your presence was felt through the quality of the food, not through personal appearance at the dining table. However, you would be acutely aware of the feedback channels, subtle nods from eunuchs, cryptic messages from stewards, that would convey imperial pleasure or displeasure. A favored dish might be requested repeatedly, while a disliked one would simply disappear from future menus, a quiet but firm imperial decree. This intricate web of protocol extended to every detail, from the type of serving dish to the order in which courses were presented. It transformed the simple act of eating into a grand performance, reinforcing the rigid social order of the Ottoman court and underscoring the Sultan's supreme authority. It makes you realize that even for something as basic as a meal, the Ottomans found a way to weave in layers of meaning power and meticulous control. It certainly makes your family dinner arguments about who gets the last slice of pizza seem rather quaint, doesn't it? Having navigated the intricate labyrinth of palace protocol, our attention now turns to the pinnacle of Ottoman dining: the Sultan's dining rituals. These weren't mere meals. They were deeply symbolic, highly controlled events, often imbued with an aura of mystery and sacredness, underscoring the Sultan's unique position at the heart of the empire. You, as the head chef, never actually see the Sultan eat, but every dish you create contributes to this silent, majestic performance. The Sultan's meals, generally 2 a day, were almost always solitary affairs, or at most shared only with his mother, the Valid Sultan, or a favored son. This was a stark contrast to the more communal dining of his predecessors and was born largely out of security concerns, but it also elevated his status, making his consumption almost divine and unapproachable. Imagine eating every meal alone in profound silence, with dozens of unseen eyes ensuring your safety. It's like being the most powerful person on earth, but your dining companion is just your own reflection. Historians still argue whether the extreme isolation of the Sultan's dining was primarily a security measure, a ritualistic elevation of his status, or a psychological manifestation of absolute power. His food would be brought to his private chambers, usually the harem, by a procession of trusted eunuchs. Before reaching him, each dish underwent a stringent tasting process. Designated food tasters, often high-ranking eunuchs, would sample every single dish in front of a supervisor. This was not a pleasant task given the constant threat of poisoning. It was a loyal duty that could cost them their lives. You know that somewhere just outside the Sultan's door, your culinary creations are being sampled, and you hold your breath hoping for no adverse reactions. It's a review system with immediate and potentially lethal consequences. The dishes themselves were a microcosm of the empire's bounty and culinary sophistication. While earlier sultans might have preferred simpler, more rustic fare, by the later periods, a vast array of refined and exquisite dishes would be prepared. Expect perfectly roasted meats, delicate fish, a variety of pilafs, rich vegetable stews, and a selection of intricate pastries and compotes. Every dish was a masterpiece of flavor and presentation, reflecting your years of dedication and the skill of your entire kitchen. You ensured that each component was cooked to perfection, knowing that the smallest imperfection could be noted. Even the presentation of the table itself was meticulously choreographed. Food was served on magnificent porcelain or silver platters, often brought from China or Europe, reflecting the empire's global connections. The tablecloths would be of the finest silk embroidered with gold thread. There were no chairs, as the Sultan would recline on plush cushions eating from low, ornate tables. The act of eating was slow and deliberate, a contemplative engagement with the food, a moment of profound personal enjoyment amidst the immense pressures of ruling an empire. As the trays were eventually returned, their contents diligently noted, you would receive the subtle signals of the Sultan's satisfaction or disinterest. An empty dish, a request for a second serving, or a particular dish being repeatedly ordered in the coming days would be your quiet affirmation of success. Conversely, an untouched dish would be a silent yet potent critique. The Sultan's dining rituals were a constant test of your culinary prowess, a daily examination where only perfection was acceptable. It makes your most intense restaurant review seem like a gentle suggestion, doesn't it? And speaking of suggestions, let's just hope you never served anything that reminded him of, say, crocodile dung. That would be an unfortunate callback indeed. After the frantic pace of lunch and the high-stakes precision of the Sultan's personal meals, a palpable, albeit brief quiet, descends upon the sprawling imperial kitchens. This is your fleeting afternoon break and planning. For you, the head chef, it's not a time for true rest, but a crucial period for strategic thinking, reviewing the morning's performance, and most importantly, beginning to orchestrate the culinary grand finale of the day, the evening's elaborate dinner. You step away from the immediate heat of the ovens, perhaps, to a cooler antechamber or a small private office, but your mind never truly stops working. You mentally review the morning's deliveries and consumption. Were there any unexpected shortages? Did a particular ingredient run low? Was the quality of the recent meat delivery consistently excellent? Or did you have to discard more than usual? Every detail, every minor deviation impacts the complex planning for the evening meal. You might consult with your Kethuda, your chief steward, who manages the inventory and logistical reports. His meticulous ledgers filled with countless entries of provisions and expenditures are your guide for anticipating tomorrow's needs and adjusting today's preparations. Historians still argue whether the perceived efficiency of Ottoman palace inventory management was truly advanced for its time, or if it relied heavily on the unrecorded, intuitive knowledge of the head chefs. The afternoon break, however short, is vital for the various kitchen masters to regroup with their teams. You might see the head baker inspecting the ovens, ensuring they are ready for the next round of baking. The master of pilafs might be discussing new combinations of nuts and dried fruits for a special evening dish. It's a lull, but one filled with low murmurs of discussion, the sharpening of knives, and the quiet clatter of preparations for the next push. It's like intermission at a massive play where the actors are actually still rehearsing their next lines. Your primary focus, however, is on the Shahnasi, evening's grand dinner. Janarin, this is often the most elaborate meal of the day, especially if foreign dignitaries or high-ranking officials are expected. The menu will be far more extensive, featuring multiple courses, more complex preparations, and a wider array of ingredients. You begin to sketch out the possibilities in your mind, drawing upon years of experience and a vast repertoire of Ottoman dishes. Will there be a grand roasted lamb stuffed with fragrant rice and pistachios? Perhaps a delicate fish stew infused with saffron? What kind of Mises appetizers will accompany the initial courses? Your culinary imagination is constantly at work, balancing traditional favorites with innovative touches. You consider the delicate balance of flavors, the visual appeal of each dish, and the overall progression of the meal. A good dinner, particularly an imperial one, tells a story through its flavors, building from lighter starters to richer main courses, culminating in sweet aromatic desserts. It's a gastronomic narrative that must be perfectly paced and executed. While you might steal a few moments to enjoy a tiny cup of freshly brewed coffee, its invigorating bitterness, a sharp contrast to the morning's sweet sherbets, your mind is always racing, anticipating planning. There's little true rest for the head chef, only a brief pause before the next culinary storm. And unlike your typical work break, where you might scroll through social media, your break involves planning an entire multi-course feast for an emperor. It's certainly a unique form of downtime. As the afternoon wears on and the plans for the evening meal solidify, your considerations extend beyond mere grandeur to the highly specific realm of special diets and health. The Ottoman palace, despite its opulence, was acutely aware of the need to cater to individual dietary requirements, whether for reasons of health, religious observance, or personal preference. You, as head chef, bear the responsibility for ensuring that every member of the imperial household, from the sultan to the lowliest servant, receives meals tailored to their needs. This requires meticulous attention to detail and a deep understanding of ingredients. Imagine a specific request arriving from the harem. A consort requires a meal entirely free of red meat due to a delicate constitution, or perhaps another is pregnant and needs extra nourishing broths and iron-rich greens. You immediately communicate these requirements to the relevant kitchen master, who then adjusts their portion of the meal preparation. This isn't a modern allergy label on a package, it's a hand-tailored dietary plan prepared by chefs who know the specific effects of various foods. Historians still argue whether the perceived understanding of nutrition and health in the Ottoman palace was based on empirical observation, ancient medical texts, or a combination of both. Religious observance also played a significant role. During the holy month of Ramadan, for instance, the entire rhythm of the kitchens would shift dramatically. Meals would be prepared for iftar, the breaking of the fast after sunset, often featuring dates, rich soups, and hearty main courses to sustain fasters through the night. Then a pre-dawn meal, sahur, would also be prepared, consisting of lighter, more easily digestible foods. This required a complete overhaul of the daily menu and cooking schedule, demonstrating the kitchen's adaptability to religious calendars. You, as head chef, would personally oversee these shifts, ensuring that sacred traditions were honored through food. Beyond these broad categories, individual illnesses or ailments could lead to very specific dietary requests. A courtier suffering from a fever might require bland, easily digestible rice porridges or thin, clear broths, carefully prepared without irritating spices. Someone with a stomach complaint might be prescribed specific herbal infusions or light vegetable purees. The palace employed physicians, hekimbaşı, who would often prescribe dietary regimens, and you, as head chef, would work closely with them to implement these culinary prescriptions. It's like being a personal dietitian for hundreds of people, where your advice comes in the form of a delicious healing meal. You certainly wouldn't want to serve spicy meatballs to someone with a stomachache. That's just bad policy. This attention to individualized diets highlights a surprisingly sophisticated understanding of the connection between food and well-being in the Ottoman court. It wasn't just about indulgence, it was also about health comfort and respecting the diverse needs of the palace's inhabitants. This level of personalized care delivered on such a grand scale underscores the meticulous organization and deep compassion that underpin the imperial kitchen's daily operations. It's a far cry from a one-size-fits-all approach and a testament to a culture that valued personal comfort and health, even amidst the grandeur of empire. With the palace's internal dietary needs meticulously managed, your expertise is often called upon for the most demanding and prestigious of culinary undertakings, preparing feasts for foreign dignitaries. These weren't mere dinners, they were elaborate diplomatic tools, spectacles of culinary grandeur designed to impress awe and subtly convey the wealth, power, and refined culture of the Ottoman Empire. You, as the head chef, become an invisible ambassador, your art speaking volumes. Imagine the arrival of an ambassador from a European power, perhaps Venice or France, or an envoy from a distant Asian court. Their meals would be unparalleled in their opulence and diversity. The planning for such a banquet would begin days, sometimes weeks, in advance. You would consult with the Grand Vizier or other high-ranking officials to understand the guests' cultural backgrounds, potential dietary restrictions, though these were rare for such guests, given the emphasis on showcasing abundance and any specific dishes the Sultan wished to highlight. It's like catering a state dinner, but with even more historical significance and less opportunity for last-minute menu changes. Historians still argue whether the primary purpose of these lavish diplomatic banquets was genuine hospitality, a display of wealth, or a subtle form of psychological warfare. The menu for a diplomatic feast would be extraordinarily extensive, often featuring dozens of courses. Expect a parade of the finest Ottoman dishes, multiple types of roasted meats, whole roasted lamb, elaborate kebabs, stuffed poultry, each perfectly spiced and garnished. There would be numerous varieties of pilafs, from delicate saffron-infused grains to hearty versions with nuts and dried fruits. The selection of Mises appetizers would be vast, including stuffed grape leaves, various vegetable purees, savory pastries, and marinated fish. It's a culinary marathon designed to overwhelm the senses in the most delightful way possible. You might find yourself juggling 3 different roasts in one oven, all requiring different temperatures and cooking times. Presentation for these feasts was paramount. Dishes would be served on the most exquisite porcelain or gold-plated platters, often adorned with intricate garnishes, edible flowers, and towering mounds of seasoned rice. The table settings themselves would be a visual spectacle reflecting the empire's unparalleled artistry. Sherbets of every conceivable flavor would flow freely along with the newly popular coffee served in elegant cups. The Helvehane would be working overtime, producing an astonishing array of sweet treats from multi-layered baklava to elaborate marzipan sculptures designed to impress even the most jaded foreign palate. The dining atmosphere, though grand, would also be a carefully controlled display of Ottoman hospitality and sophistication. While foreign guests might be unaccustomed to reclining on cushions and eating from low tables, they would be guided through the rituals by their hosts. The sheer abundance of food, the continuous procession of new and more exquisite dishes, was a subtle message the Ottoman Empire lacked. Nothing its resources were boundless, and its culinary artistry was unmatched. You, the head chef, would be in the kitchen a maestro conducting a culinary orchestra, ensuring every dish was perfect, every flavor balanced, and every presentation flawless. The success of these banquets could literally influence diplomatic relations, making your role far more significant than merely feeding hungry mouths. A well-fed, impressed dignitary was a more amenable dignitary. So while you might not get a diplomatic medal, your perfectly roasted lamb could be the key to a favorable treaty. No pressure, just the fate of the empire resting on your seasoning. It certainly beats trying to impress your in-laws with a fancy dinner, doesn't it? As the imperial year progresses, your focus shifts from the immediate demands of daily meals and diplomatic banquets to the vital long-term strategy of boki, winter provisions, and storage. The vastness of the Ottoman palace, combined with the often harsh Istanbul winters, meant that ensuring a continuous supply of fresh and preserved ingredients was a monumental logistical undertaking. You head to the palace's immense storerooms and cellars, cool and dark, where the bounty of warmer months is meticulously put away for colder times. Imagine enormous dimly lit chambers stacked high with barrel sacks and earthenware jars. The air is cool and dry, permeated by the mingled scents of dried fruits, salted meats, preserved vegetables, and various grains. This isn't just a pantry. It's a meticulously managed fortress of sustenance designed to keep thousands fed through months when fresh produce is scarce or impossible to acquire. Historians still argue whether the sophisticated methods of food preservation in the Ottoman palace were entirely indigenous or heavily influenced by techniques borrowed from earlier Byzantine or Persian empires. One of the most crucial tasks is the assalting and drying of meats and fish. Large quantities of lamb beef and various fish are cured with salt, then hung to dry in designated well-ventilated areas, transforming them into resilient, long-lasting provisions. You inspect the racks, ensuring proper air circulation and no signs of spoilage. These preserved meats will form the basis of hearty stews and nourishing dishes when fresh meat is less available. It's like operating a massive ancient charcuterie where the stakes are far higher than just a bad review. Fruits and vegetables are preserved through various methods. Apples, pears, and quinces are often dried in the sun, creating intensely flavorful and durable snacks or ingredients for compotes. Grapes are dried into raisins, and figs are pressed into dense sweet cakes. Some vegetables, like eggplants and peppers, are also dried, while others are pickled in brine or vinegar, stored in enormous earthenware jars that line the cellar walls. You might oversee the preparation of a new batch of pickled turnips, ensuring the brine has the perfect acidity to prevent spoilage. It's an ancient form of food technology, incredibly effective and far more labor-intensive than simply freezing things. Grains, primarily wheat and rice, are stored in vast quantities in specially constructed granaries, carefully protected from pests and dampness. Large sacks of pulses, lentils, chickpeas, and beans are also laid in ensuring a continuous supply of protein-rich staples. Then there are the huge earthenware vats of olive oil and honey, both vital for cooking and preserving. You might sample a spoonful of honey, checking its purity and consistency, knowing that these stores represent the very lifeblood of the kitchen through the lean months. The planning for winter provisions is a year-round effort, starting with the careful cultivation of palace orchards and gardens and meticulous procurement from the empire's agricultural heartlands. It requires foresight, experience, and an innate understanding of climate and spoilage. The ability to successfully manage these vast stores of food was a direct reflection of the palace's self-sufficiency and the sultan's capacity to provide for his entire household even in the harshest conditions. As you leave the cool silence of the storerooms, you carry the heavy weight of this responsibility, knowing that the empire's well-being in a very tangible way rests on the security of its winter larder. You definitely wouldn't want to run out of anything crucial. There's no going to the corner store for a forgotten sack of lentils when winter bites. Even as the strategic planning for winter provisions is underway, the relentless daily cycle of the imperial kitchens demands constant attention to cleanliness and hygiene. This brings us to the rigorous process of kitchen cleaning and maintenance. In a space that handled food for thousands and long before the advent of modern sanitation, meticulous cleanliness was not just about aesthetics. It was a critical matter of health efficiency and imperial prestige. You, as head chef, ensure that the vast kitchens are kept spotless, a task that requires continuous effort from dozens of tireless hands. Imagine the end of a busy cooking shift, the air still warm and thick with the lingering aromas of 1,000 dishes. Now envision dozens of kitchen boys and junior apprentices descending upon the monumental copper cauldrons, scraping, scrubbing, and polishing until their surfaces gleam like mirrors. These cauldrons, some large enough to bathe a small horse, require immense effort to clean, often using sand ashes and strong brushes to remove every trace of burnt food or grease. It's a continuous, back-breaking chore that lasts for hours, transforming the chaotic scene of cooking into an orderly, sparkling environment, ready for the next day. Historians still argue whether the perceived level of hygiene in Ottoman palace kitchens was truly effective in preventing foodborne illnesses, or if it was more about maintaining an impressive appearance for the elite. Every marble preparation table is scoured, every wooden chopping block scrubbed down with hot water and coarse salt to sanitize it. The stone floors are swept and washed, leaving no trace of spilled ingredients or debris. Even the high vaulted ceilings and intricate tiling are periodically cleaned, ensuring no dust or cobwebs could fall into a simmering pot. This is not a casual wipe-down. It's an obsessive, systematic cleansing driven by the understanding that a dirty kitchen is a breeding ground for illness, a threat to the palace's health, and an insult to the sultan's dignity. You wouldn't want to explain to the sultan's physician why half the harem has a stomach ailment, would you? The extensive use of jubakyo copperware also meant constant polishing. Copper, while an excellent heat conductor, tarnishes easily. Apprentices dedicate hours to rubbing each pot pan and serving dish with a mixture of lemon juice and salt or specialized pastes, restoring its brilliant shine. This isn't just for show. A clean, smooth surface is less likely to harbor bacteria. The sheer number of copper vessels in the palace kitchen was staggering, each one a testament to the artisans who crafted them and the laborers who tirelessly maintained them. It's like a never-ending polishing party, but without the fun. Beyond the daily scrubbing, there's the ongoing maintenance of the kitchen infrastructure itself. The enormous wood-fired ovens are regularly inspected and cleaned of ash. Firewood is constantly replenished, stacked neatly in designated areas. Water channels and drainage systems are cleared to ensure smooth flow and prevent blockages. This meticulous upkeep ensures that the kitchens operate at peak efficiency day after day, year after year. The relentless commitment to cleanliness, even in an era without modern disinfectants, is a testament to the sophisticated practical knowledge of the Ottoman palace staff. It reminds you that true luxury isn't just about what you consume, but the unseen, tireless effort that goes into making it perfect. And let's be honest, your own kitchen could probably use a Roman palace-level scrub right now, couldn't it? Perhaps not, after all the previous sections which have probably made you hungry. While the daily grind of cleaning and maintenance is constant, your role as head chef also encompasses the crucial long-term investment in the future of the imperial kitchen niece apprentice training and discipline. The vast culinary machine of the palace relied on a continuous supply of skilled labor, and this meant rigorous instruction for the young, often raw recruits who entered its cavernous halls. You are not just a cook. You are a teacher, a mentor, and a stern disciplinarian shaping the next generation of Ottoman culinary masters. Imagine a group of young boys, some barely 10 years old, standing wide-eyed and nervous in the midst of the bustling kitchen. These are the newest Ich Olin the Kitchen Boys, fresh from their villages or recruited from various parts of the empire. Their initial tasks are the most basic and arduous: fetching water, stoking fires, scrubbing pots. But even these mundane duties are performed under strict supervision designed to instill discipline, obedience, and a foundational understanding of the kitchen's operations. A misplaced bucket or a poorly tended fire is met with immediate vocal correction, sometimes accompanied by a rap of a wooden spoon. Historians still argue whether the harsh disciplinary methods in Ottoman palace training were primarily effective for skill development or a means of ensuring absolute obedience and control within the imperial household. As they progress, these apprentices move on to more direct food preparation. You observe a master cook instructing a Shagurt junior apprentice on the precise way to peel an eggplant, demonstrating the smooth, even strokes required. Another apprentice painstakingly grinds spices, learning to distinguish between the subtle aromas and textures of each one. The training is entirely hands-on, a process of constant repetition and immediate feedback. There are no textbooks here, only generations of inherited knowledge passed directly from master to student. It's like a perpetual culinary boot camp, where every mistake is a learning opportunity and every perfect cut is a step towards mastery. You wouldn't want a sloppy chef serving the Sultan after all. Discipline is woven into every aspect of this training. The hierarchy is rigid and respect for superiors is paramount. Punctuality, cleanliness, and dedication are non-negotiable. Laziness, insubordination, or incompetence are not tolerated and can lead to severe punishment, including demotion or even expulsion from the palace service. While the methods might seem harsh by modern standards, they were designed to forge resilience, precision, and an unwavering commitment to excellence in a high-stakes environment where errors could have serious consequences. You were once in their shoes, remember. You understand the pressure and the pride that comes from mastering a difficult technique. You periodically inspect the apprentice's work, offering your own guidance and criticism. A quick glance at a simmering pot, a taste of a chopped herb, or a silent observation of a kneading technique. Your experience allows you to instantly pinpoint flaws and offer concise, effective instruction. The goal isn't just to teach them how to cook, it's to instill in them the values of the imperial kitchen, perfection, efficiency, and unwavering loyalty. This continuous cycle of training ensures that the culinary traditions and unparalleled standards of the Ottoman palace kitchen will endure for generations to come, guaranteeing that the Sultan's table, and indeed the entire palace, will always be fed by the most skilled hands in the empire. It's a culinary legacy built on rigorous instruction, ensuring that even a simple dish is executed with imperial precision. And honestly, it makes your old-school cooking classes look like a walk in the park. With the afternoon lull now firmly behind you and the exacting standards of apprentice training still fresh in your mind, the rhythmic clatter of preparations begins to swell once more as you embark on orchestrating the evening meal's grandeur. This is the culinary crescendo of the day, often the most elaborate and multifaceted feast, demanding even greater coordination, artistry, and a final flourish of perfection. You move through the kitchens with renewed energy, your senses attuned to every simmering pot and sizzling pan, knowing that the Sultan's greatest meal of the day is now in full swing. The menu for the evening is often far more extensive than lunch, incorporating a wider array of dishes designed to impress and delight. Expect multiple courses, delicate apura, mezes, to begin, followed by rich soups, a variety of roasted and stewed meats, intricate pilafs, fresh fish dishes, and an astonishing selection of sweet pastries and compotes. Each kitchen master is now working at their peak, their teams moving with a focused intensity that borders on a quiet frenzy. You might hear the crisp thwack of a chef carving thin slices of roast lamb, or the gentle bubbling of a rich fruit compote, its sweetness filling the air from the helvehane. Historians still argue whether the elaborate multi-course structure of Ottoman imperial dinners was primarily a display of imperial power, a reflection of diverse culinary influences, or a means of ensuring gastronomic pleasure over a prolonged period. In the Asheni Hassa, the Sultan's private kitchen, the most exquisite dishes are being prepared under your direct, piercing gaze. A whole roasted lamb, perhaps stuffed with a fragrant mixture of rice pistachios, pine nuts, and spices, slowly browns in a specialized oven, its skin crackling and turning golden. Delicate napmaiten and tiny meat-filled dumplings are meticulously folded by nimble fingers, destined for a creamy yogurt sauce. The aroma emanating from this section is otherworldly, a concentrated essence of Ottoman luxury. It's like watching a culinary masterpiece being painted stroke by stroke with flavors instead of colors. You wouldn't want to accidentally overcook the Sultan's favorite cut of lamb. That's a culinary sin of the highest order. Meanwhile, in the general cooking sections, vast quantities of various Yanni's stews are simmering. Some are meat-based, rich with tomatoes and vegetables. Others are vegetarian, focusing on the fresh bounty of the season. Large platters of assorted kebabs, lamb chicken, and even some made from ground meat and spices are being meticulously skewered, ready for the intense heat of the charcoal grills. The smell of searing meat and charring vegetables begins to dominate a primal scent of impending feast. The helvehane is particularly active for the evening meal, as a dazzling array of desserts is being finalized. Layers of baklava are being drenched in hot syrup, lokum is being cut into perfect squares and dusted with powdered sugar, and vibrant fruit compotes are being arranged in elegant bowls. The sweet, cloying aroma of sugar and honey creates a delightful counterpoint to the savory smells emanating from the main kitchens, a promise of a delightful conclusion to the meal. As each dish reaches its peak, it is meticulously garnished and arranged on polished platters ready for dispatch. You move between the sections, tasting, adjusting, correcting, ensuring that every single dish is worthy of the imperial table. The pressure is immense, but so is the satisfaction of seeing your vision come to life, knowing that hundreds, if not thousands, will soon enjoy the fruits of your labor. The entire palace awaits the signal for dinner, a culinary performance that relies entirely on your unwavering skill and tireless oversight. It makes your most stressful holiday cooking look like a breeze, doesn't it? And you probably don't have to worry about accidentally serving a dish that could start a small skirmish. As the evening meal's grandeur approaches its zenith, your role transitions into the most critical phase: tasting and quality control. Chaque défaut. With dozens of dishes nearing completion, it falls to your experienced palate and keen eye to ensure that every single item meets the impossibly high standards of the imperial court. This isn't just about deliciousness, it's about perfection, consistency, and crucially, safety. You move systematically through each section, a silent, almost ritualistic procession of judgment. Imagine a line of master cooks, each presenting their finished dishes to you. First, the steaming hot soups. You take a small silver spoon, dip it into the rich broth, and taste. Your tongue immediately discerns the balance of salt, spice, and richness. Is the lentil soup hearty enough for the janissaries? Is the chicken broth clear and delicate enough for the sultan? A subtle nod of approval or a quick, almost imperceptible shake of the head communicates your verdict. If a correction is needed, a pinch more fresh mint, a touch of lemon juice, you instruct the master cook precisely, often demonstrating with a swift movement of your hand. Historians still argue whether the head chef's final tasting was primarily a quality control measure or a ritualistic act designed to demonstrate mastery and ownership over the palace's culinary output. Next, the meats. You cut a small piece from a roasted lamb, tasting for tenderness, seasoning, and doneness. Is the internal temperature perfect? Is the outer skin crisp? For the kebabs, you check for even charring and succulent juiciness. The manta dumplings must be perfectly al dente, their filling flavorful, their yogurt sauce creamy and tangy. Every single element is scrutinized. It's like being the ultimate food critic, but your review determines whether an entire empire eats well or potentially gets a very stern glance from the sultan. The pilafs receive similar scrutiny. You fluff a spoonful, checking that each grain is separate, fluffy, and infused with the promised aromatics. Is the saffron pilaf vibrant enough in color and taste? Is the pistachio pilaf subtly sweet and savory? Even the simple baked flatbreads are tasted for their texture, chewiness, and the faint hint of wood smoke from the oven. A slightly underbaked or overbaked bread would not do. Finally, the sweets. A small piece of baklava, its layers crisp and saturated with syrup. Is the syrup too sweet or perfectly balanced? Does the halva melt on the tongue, and is its nut content just right? You might take a sip of sherbet, checking its refreshing quality and the purity of its fruit or floral notes. These final checks on the desserts ensure a delightful end to what will be a truly grand meal. This tasting process is not just about flavor. It's also a final crucial check for any anomalies, any strange tastes that might indicate spoilage or, more gravely, deliberate tampering. Your life and the lives of those you feed depend on your acute senses. You can pick out the slightest imperfection, the faintest off-note, with an almost supernatural precision honed by decades of experience. The silence and tension in the kitchen during these moments are palpable, but as each dish passes your rigorous inspection, a sense of quiet satisfaction settles over you. The day's masterpiece is complete, ready to be presented. You certainly wouldn't want to explain why the imperial meal was served with a side of questionable digestive issues. That would be a truly unforgettable evening for all the wrong reasons. Even as the grand evening meal is being dispatched to the various dining halls of the palace, your day is far from over. Your particular genius as head chef is often called upon for a more intimate and creative task: late-night culinary artistry. These are the bespoke dishes, often lighter, more delicate, or exquisitely rich, prepared solely for the Sultan's personal request, often late into the night when the rest of the palace is winding down. It's a quiet, almost meditative shift, a moment where your true creative flair can shine unburdened by the demands of mass production. Imagine the palace in the quiet hours after the main dinner service. Most of the kitchens are being scrubbed and put to rest, but a small select team remains with you in the Sultan's private kitchen. A messenger from the harem arrives bearing a simple yet profoundly significant request. The Sultan desires a light supper, perhaps a specific dish that evokes a memory or a new creation to pique his curiosity. This is where you truly earn your title. You're not just cooking. You're interpreting an imperial whim, translating a desire into a tangible, delicious reality. Historians still argue whether the Sultan's late-night requests were purely for culinary pleasure, a means of testing the kitchen's responsiveness, or a way to assert personal control in a highly structured environment. The ingredients for these late-night creations are often chosen from the finest, freshest supplies held back specifically for the Sultan. Perhaps a delicate quail perfectly roasted and served with a subtle fruit sauce, or a small portion of freshly caught fish, poached in a fragrant broth with saffron and dill. The emphasis is on exquisite flavor, perfect texture, and ease of digestion, ensuring the Sultan can rest peacefully after his meal. You might meticulously debone the quail yourself, ensuring no obstacle mars the experience. It's like preparing a Michelin star meal for an audience of one where the audience happens to be an emperor. Sometimes the request might be for a particular sweet, a specific type of lokum hoshni, infused with a rare rose essence or a miniature baklava. Its layers even thinner and more delicate than those served at the main feast. You might even create a new kind of compote mert, perhaps with fresh cherries and a hint of ginger, designed to be both refreshing and subtly stimulating. The Helvehane staff would be brought back specifically for such a request, their skills honed for these precise late-hour creations. The atmosphere during these late-night preparations is one of hushed concentration. The only sounds are the gentle sizzle of food on a small stovetop, the soft whisper of a knife, or the quiet murmur of your instructions to your trusted assistant. The pressure is still there, but it's a different kind, the pressure of artistry, of fulfilling a singular imperial desire with unmatched finesse. There's no margin for error, but there's also a profound sense of creative freedom, knowing that you are crafting a dish solely for the most discerning palate in the empire. As the small perfect tray is finally prepared, covered, and sent on its silent journey to the Sultan's chambers, you feel a deep, quiet satisfaction. This is the moment when your skill truly transforms into art, where your culinary prowess is directly experienced by the one who holds absolute power. It's a testament to your unwavering dedication and your profound understanding of imperial taste. You probably wouldn't want to receive a summons from the Sultan asking why. His late-night snack wasn't perfect. That's a bedtime story you definitely don't want to hear. As the last of the late-night dishes disappear into the Sultan's private chambers, a profound quiet finally settles over the imperial kitchens. The massive hearths, once roaring, now hold only glowing embers, and the colossal copper pots, scrubbed to a brilliant sheen, hang silently from their hooks. This is the true hakwe, end-of-day exhaustion and pride. You stand amidst the cooling ovens and the still pungent air of spices, feeling the deep ache in your feet and the weariness in your bones, but also a quiet, undeniable sense of accomplishment. Your head might throb faintly from the day's intense heat and constant mental exertion, but your mind races back through the dozens of meals, the hundreds of dishes, and the thousands of hungry mouths you and your vast team have successfully fed. From the delicate kaymak of the sultan's breakfast to the robust lentil soups for the janissaries and the elaborate baklava for the evening feast, every element was orchestrated, tasted, and dispatched under your direct supervision. It's like having run a marathon, but instead of finishing with a medal, you get the satisfaction of knowing an entire empire has been deliciously nourished. Historians still argue whether the personal toll on the head chefs of the Ottoman palace was primarily due to physical exertion or the immense psychological pressure of their role. You watch as the last few apprentices, their eyes heavy-lidded with fatigue, finish their final sweeping and dousing of embers. Their quiet movements are a testament to the discipline instilled throughout the day. You offer a silent nod of approval to the ekmekçi başı and helvahane başıdi, the heads of the bakery and sweet kitchen who are also winding down their strenuous shifts. There's a shared sense of camaraderie among the senior staff, a silent acknowledgement of a demanding day impeccably executed. You wouldn't want to be the one responsible for a food shortage or a bad meal, especially when it could affect the morale of the entire palace and potentially the stability of the empire. That's a kind of stress modern chefs rarely encounter unless they're on a reality TV show. The air, though still holding faint whispers of saffron and roasted lamb, is now dominated by the clean, sharp scent of soap and hot water, a clear indication that order has been restored. The immense space, once a vibrant, chaotic hub of activity, now feels almost empty, silent, waiting patiently for the dawn to reignite its fires. You trace the worn grooves on a marble preparation table with your fingertips, feeling the centuries of labor ingrained in its surface. This isn't just a job, it's a legacy, a tradition stretching back generations, and you are its current proud custodian. As you finally turn to leave the now quiet kitchen, stepping out into the cool, star-dusted palace courtyard, you feel the gentle night breeze on your face. The sounds of Istanbul are muffled by the thick palace walls, offering a moment of true peace. You think of the millions of ingredients that pass through your hands, the countless dishes created, the silent pleasure given to the Sultan, and the sustenance provided to his vast household. The exhaustion is profound, a deep weariness that settles into your very bones, but it is a good exhaustion earned through dedication and skill. You carry the quiet pride of a craftsman, an artist whose medium is taste and whose canvas is the imperial palette. The day is done, the duty fulfilled. As the last vestiges of the day's immense labor finally recede and the silence of the vast kitchens deepens around you, a profound sense of peace begins to settle. The subtle scent of cooled charcoal and the faint sweet memory of rosewater now fill the air, a gentle lullaby for tired senses. You walk through the hushed palace grounds, the grand archways and silent courtyards, seeming to breathe with the quiet rhythm of the sleeping city beyond their walls. The vibrant world of imperial kitchens with its clamor and intense demands now feels like a distant dream, leaving behind only a lingering warmth and a deep, comforting quiet. You finally reach your modest, comfortable quarters, a familiar haven after the long, arduous hours of heat and pressure. The soft lamplight inside casts a gentle glow, inviting rest. Your muscles ache, a testament to the colossal tasks undertaken, but it's a satisfying weariness born of purposeful action and immense responsibility. You shed your chef's apron, now marked with the proud stains of a day well spent, and prepare for the quiet embrace of slumber. As you close your eyes, the last images that drift through your mind are not of demanding deadlines or precise protocols, but of vibrant colors and rich aromas, the golden glow of perfectly roasted lamb, the delicate, intricate patterns of baklava, the deep red of a cherry sherbet, and the earthy, comforting scent of freshly baked bread. You recall the satisfying texture of fluffy pilaf and the invigorating bitterness of good coffee. These are the sweet dreams of a culinary master, a silent replaying of the day's triumphs, a tapestry woven from flavors and dedication. Sleep comes easily, a deep, restorative plunge into unconsciousness. But even in its depths, your chef's mind is never truly idle. It quietly processes the lessons of the day, subtly anticipating the challenges and triumphs of tomorrow. Perhaps you dream of a new spice blend, a novel way to present a classic dish, or the perfect ripeness of a summer fig. For a chef of your caliber, the culinary journey never truly ends. It merely pauses, recharging for the next day's exquisite creations. You are not just a cook. You are the heart of the palace's sustenance, the silent orchestrator of countless daily pleasures, and the keeper of a rich gastronomic heritage. As you sleep, the sprawling palace, from the sultan in his chambers to the guards at the gates, rests secure in the knowledge that you, the head chef, will rise again with the dawn, ready to rekindle the fires and begin the timeless dance of flavors anew. May your rest be profound, your dreams sweet, and tomorrow's kitchen be as bountiful as today's. Sweet dreams.